Greetings, chefs, and welcome back to the kitchen for our Genshin Impact Genius Invocation TCG guide. Today we're going to be looking at not one, but two new character cards today, because just like spaghetti and meatballs, these two really don't work out without the other. Of course, you can have plain butter noodles and plain meatballs, but why would you do that when they really ultimately just work out together better? And the same can be said about Xinyan and Apep as of version 4.7, because after all, this is the first impression series for my TCG channel. And if you're new to the first impression series, what we do here is we cover the entire character's kit, any tips and tricks that I can give you, and deck building so you can play your favorite character in the TCG. Of course, it's not impossible to play Xinyan and Apep, you know, by themselves or without each other, but they work off so well that it's really hard for me to recommend them, without each other. So without further ado, let's get on to our first match here. And oh man, I'm really excited. I'm really impressed to see how much value, Xinyan has been able to bring to the sort of discard archetype. And additionally, I'm also really impressed by how they designed, Apep herself. She's been a really interesting character to play with over time. But yes, we're gonna have to pause as soon as we get into the match because Apep, oh my goodness, her kit is filled with hoopla. It is ridiculous on how much is in there. But yes, as soon as we get past this, we'll talk about it. And they do 2 physical damage. That's the kind of the standard stuff. Whatever. Yeah. But anyway, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as these videos take a lot of effort. And I hope you all enjoy, what we do here, on this channel, as well as JTCG and the Discord server in the description. But yes, let's get started. So, like I said, pause. Hoopla. Okay, hold on. Unpause. Give me that. Thank you. Okay. This gave me a nightmare with how much look. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Yes. But this is Apep, and like I said earlier, 2 physical damage, normal attack, and not special. And seriously, you're not going to want to use this unless absolutely necessary. The whole gimmick of Apep is that she folds these cards into your deck, the Awaken by Kindred, which costs 2 Dendro dice. It is an event card, which when you play this card or discard this card, summon 1 independent proliferated organism, which is going to be summons that will take up your entire field and have individual counts. Keep in mind that, the fact that they have individual counts means that they're going to fill your summon zone immediately. So that's one anti-synergy Apep has, is that she really cannot be played with multi-summon characters. She will just eat your entire board, and if you can't summon your organism, well, you're not really doing what the character's supposed to do, right? So, that's step number 1. Step number 2 is the Heart of the Oasis counter. This one, it seems very confusing, but again, it is just a number counter, and what it means is that if you do 4 of these cards, you get 4 of these friends out, right? You're going to be able to gain 2 shield and also these bonuses. Reignite Heart of the Oasis. The character to which it is attached to deals +3 damage. After the character to which it is attached to uses a skill, remove the Oasis nourishment on your side. Each attack removed heals the attached character for 1 HP. And of course, we'll get into what that status is. But basically, off rip, you're going to get not only a damage bonus, but also 3 healing after you played 4 of these, for that round. And that is very strong. You're going to see how powerful that is, because of course, Apep's multipliers are kind of normal, 2 damage, but then 4 damage up here. 4 + 3 equals 7. That's a lot of damage. That kind of hurts. And yes, let's talk about the Oasis Nourishment ability, which is something I just used right here with my skill, right? I use the skill button, which is live stream, which allows me to not only draw a card, but also gives me the Oasis Nourishment status, which is going to make it so that when you play Awaken by Kindred, spend 1 less elemental die, and you can stack this up to 3 usages, which again, this is this card right here. So right now you can't see it on screen, but this is actually costing only 1 if I wanted to play it by itself. And of course, we're going to continue on with the match now, and I'll talk more about the rest of the kit, but this is kind of, it all feeds into itself basically. But of course, as you saw earlier, I talked about how this thing uses discard, and discard is kind of a new mechanic into this patch. It's more properly given a term, right? And discard means that anyone who uses something in their kit, hey, hint, who will destroy cards for you. Hey, look, my name is Xinyan. My whole kit is revolved around destroying cards, which we'll get into that in just a moment. Let's finish off the rest of these Pep kit, which is going to be the Live Stream and the End Falls. The Live Stream and the End Falls are pretty much identical skills, except for damage numbers. They're going to give you, whenever you use it, they both got 3 Dendro dice, and then once you attack them, it's going to deal the amount of damage and also give you 1 card out of your deck. It's an immediate draw for your little Oasis Nourishment friend, right? That's really cool, super duper helpful. And then It'll also give you, you know, like I said, the Oasis Nourishment. Sorry, flip-flopping the terms. Awaken My Kindred and Oasis Nourishment. So that way you can reduce it by 1 if you need to play it raw. But of course, we have our good friend Xinyan here to take care of all of that. Now, as we get through the match, I'm also going to now move on to Xinyan, you know, who is the character, you know, who really enables this whole thing. Now, we're not burning, you know, the cards that we specifically want, but that's those great cards that we'll talk about later in other matches, because, oh my goodness, there's so many cards to talk about with discard mechanics, dude. Like, I'm basically playing an entirely different archetype and list. Yeah, and see, you can see Lyney snapping his fingers and flying away. But yes, this is Xinyan. Now we're gonna flip over, and she has the Sweeping Fervor skill, which deals 2 pyro damage on demand, generates 2 shield, and then will discard the card with the highest value inside of your deck. So of course, if I have something like Guardian's Oath, or as well, actually no, Lament, you know, if it's 4, that's gonna be the one that's gonna be taken. If you have similar cards, which are like, you know, let's say I have 2 Paimons, which cost 3 and 3, it'll just pick it at random. And so keep that in mind, you know, when you're playing this discard, you know, with Xinyan. You know, if you have similar cost cards and you're like, oh no, I don't know which one is going to pick, pre-play something. Like, here's an option that you'll see later in the match. I throw out a fast swap early so I don't get it deleted, because deleting your card is bad, because unless you have something like Sir Arthur, you're never getting this back. Yes, but anyway, yes, that is what Sweeping Fervor does. A really powerful thing, but also, once again, entirely made for discard mechanics. And that is, you know, pretty restrictive, I would say. You know, you can't really play this without having some sort of discard engine, which is, again, something we're going to talk about in this video as we go on. But that will take time before, you know, my engine gets out, because I'm kind of getting cooked. I'm going to be real with you. But yes, on to the other piece of her kit, which is Rift Revolution. Probably one of the most unique pieces of her kit, which unfortunately I won't be able to showcase too often, because it is very risky to do in the first place. Is that Rift Revolution, you're going to deal, unlike any other character, 3 physical damage and deals 2 piercing damage to all the standby characters over here, which, you know, already off the gate, physical damage, huh? That's in the game. Yes, it is. It does exist. But yes, also additionally, you know, outside of all that damage, it'll destroy your entire hand. So everything you see here, gone. Thanos snaps his fingers, it's all gone. Now that is great for characters like this, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, but you know, that is sort of the entirety of Xinyan's kit. Discard, discard, discard. And if I had had the chance to, you know, survive through this turn, I could use this, you know, not only to do things like Fuel Up Whale, but also play all of Apep summons immediately. And that is very scary, right? Because like I said earlier, Apep has the Heart of Oasis mechanic, where after I play 4 of her kindred, she's gonna become freaking a Super Saiyan. I'm gonna be real with you. It's Apep on the Oasis, on the special status is a nightmare. Like, you are not surviving that in the slice, and we are going to see it during this match as soon as we get there. But yes, that's pretty much the entirety of this stuff. You know, I talked a ton just now. Like, I had to cover 2 characters kits and stuff, and you know, I hope it was, you know, straightforward enough with, you know, chunking down all this text. This was not fun to write, dude. It was not in this place. But yes, we are now starting to see a little bit of the discard engine come into play. There we go. And I'll probably take a pause right here to kind of talk about some of the cards that we just saw. So some of the pieces of the discard engine, the first one we're going to talk about, and the one that I think most decks are going to run, is the Central Laboratory of Ruins, a 1-cost support card, where after you discard or tune, this card will gain 1 progress point, and you can go up to 3, 6, and 9. And basically, once you hit that 3, 6, and 9, you'll gain 1 Omni dice. And that's pretty huge, because you can now intentionally cringe your dice, right? Let's say these weren't all Omnis, instead these were rainbows, and I could just tune, and then suddenly, wow, I have another Omni dice. That's pretty strong, man. You know, the second piece of the discard engine, and this is something that usually comes in a little later and very hard to play around, but very good, is Kusava. And we may be able to see this in action in other rounds, but essentially what Kusava does is that it makes it so that at the start of your turn, it'll take 2 of your cards with the highest value and discard them, you know, burn them away. But in return, it will give you a really cool status. And we'll go ahead and take a pause right here for that. Discard a maximum of 2 cards of the Hells and the Lycos in your hand. For each card you discard, you'll accumulate 1 point. And then when your character uses a skill, if you haven't played any of your action cards, that's right, so you can't play any of these cards if you use this thing, right? you'll be able to consume this and your skills will cost 1 less. So this is going to become 2. This would become 2. Really, really useful, but you need to have the cards for it. And of course, Apep is the character who can have stuff like that. See, I'm going to go ahead and drop Kusava, and now I can go ahead and consume one of my cards over here, and that way into the next turn I'll be able to just play it for free, right? I don't have to worry about any of that. It's basically, you know, an off-field Xinyan, but of course you need to have the feel for it. So we're struggling a little bit in this match. And of course, I will talk about what this deck actually does, you know, in one of the later rounds, because we are going to play this again. But it's just to get, you know, kind of all the stuff out, you know, and how all this stuff works, right? There is Whale too, which I'm not trying to go over too much, because Whale I'm intentionally leaving for a separate video, because Whale, you know, unlike these two, you know, has a lot more pairings, you know, outside of just these two, because it only relies on just eating cards in general, right? So they just ate those two, and I believe we might actually gain an HP. Yeah, there we go. You know, you can see on the other side, right? The opponent actually has a Whale deck that is one that I very much enjoy, which is, you know, completely different from what we have right here. But yes, there we go. Whale's gonna do its thing. I could do a quick rundown on this, and it's gonna be very similar to the other deck that we're gonna play, you know, in a little bit of a moment. But basically, right, you want to start with Apep always, and then you drop, you know, you draw at least one of these summons, hand it over to Xinyan, she burns it, and then she automatically plays it for you. And then, you know, you kind of try to fence your way around until Whale goes to the end game. Of course, I didn't get lucky that time, but this is a great opportunity to showcase Apep, because, you know, as much as the Whale, you know, could deal a lot of damage with how many stacks it has, what it doesn't have is the fact that it does not have enough to actually continuously spam higher damage skills, because it has no cards to eat right now. So instead, it drops only its burst, which really can only ever deal 1 hydro damage. And I am Apep, now souped up, ready to go. I just healed up a ton, and I have a shield, and I can heal more HP. So we're gonna see Apep cook. Let's see it. I go ahead, tune a card, crunch it. That's gonna be 4 damage. I get another one just for myself. There we go. I also get a healing because I generated 1 Oasis nourishment, and the opponent knows it's GG, so we're gonna call it there. Yeah, and that is the kind of the, again, I talked a lot during the entire match. I typically don't do that, you know, I don't like doing that, so we're gonna do 3 today. But it is a very, very complex thing, and that's just pieces of the discard engine. I didn't even talk about the first grade match, which we're gonna see probably in the next coming matches. But here is a different list that we can check out, right, with the you know, sort of Apep Xinyan, but it has a different third character, because the thing about Whale, right, is that Whale can't come out until the end, because it purely works on, you know, discarding all your cards of the entirety of the match. When you can't do that sort of discard mechanic, right, it makes it so that you're forced to play this very linear game, very linear style of play, you know. And if for whatever reason someone has a disruption deck, you know, Thundering Manifestation, Overload, Animo, like, you know, that's not really going to work out for you. So here is a very different deck, and this one is by Minty, who's in the Discord server. You know, looks like they've been playing tournaments for quite some time, so, you know, big shout outs to them. They handed this to me, you know, if you were watching the stream the other day, when we first started out in the 4.7 TCG. I did it over there, and it's been a really fun deck, and I definitely agree. And there's also a lot of nuances to talk about it, because, you know, generally speaking, I personally wasn't super sold on this version of the Apep deck. But, you know, as I played it, you know, I played, funnily enough, I played these decks a lot, man. These are very fun. I end up playing decks almost like 20 times over whenever I'm testing them, you know, for videos, because they're fun, right? I want to have fun with the TCG in general. But yes, you know, this is from Minty, you know, pretty well thought out. I did make a few adjustments, you know, on my own end, but, you know, for the most part, I think Minty was pretty succinct with what they had cooked with this list. So yes, the only difference, right, of course, is, as I talked about earlier, is that Whale is sort of that thing that only can come into the end game. Now I can get value from Kuki, who, you know, once introduced from last match, is that she's a very valuable character, especially in these, you know, overburn archetypes, right? You know, having these 3 types of elements, it's a very common thing that happens in the TCG meta, right? So Kuki's skills first, and then I have, you know, this Grass Sanctifying Ring, so I can swap around, you know, without much punishment. You know, as much as I did get frozen, that's kind of the, you know, name of the game of Risley. He's gonna do stuff like that to you. There we go. And I also, you saw I tuned away a pizza because, you know, it might not be the most optimal thing, but I want to make sure I don't lose Vicious Ancient Battle. Technically, that is not the right thing to do. Remember that if it's a 0 cost, like a 0 cost arcane, this thing doesn't count as a dice. This arcane edict does not count. So, you know, I basically left it up to chance there. Very dangerous, by the way. But we're also going to see Vicious Ancient Battle in play. We'll talk about that more later. But yeah, just stealing energy from your opponent. Your power is mine. Pretty, very nice. You know, stop you from popping up, especially a certain character, which I'm sure all of you are very, you know, you have strong opinions about. Her name is Yunjin, but anyway. Yes, we're moving on to the next turn. So yes, we're going to Kuki skill, you know, super duper valuable. Swap into Apep. You know, use a skill, and then I can instantly draw a card, and then I go to Xinyan, and then I kind of cycle, right? Going between these two characters constantly is kind of the whole cycle of the match. Of course, you can pivot back to Kuki because she has a ton of HP. You know, she's kind of a sponge, you know, for the end game, but that, of course, comes when it comes, not right now. Now, it's pretty hard to face off with this deck. Now, I'm going to talk about one of the advantages of Xinyan versus a lot of the other characters, and why she has the whole discard mechanic tied to her kit, right, is because most shielders, right, you think about it, Layla, Zhongli is a 5 cost, right, Kirara, you know, doesn't even attack. Most of them don't actually attack in with building a shield, right? They do some sort of other thing. Zhongli summons, Layla puts on a status, Kirara puts on a status, and Kirara's status is very weak too. So that's why Xinyan needs to have, you know, this sort of balancing to make sure that she's not too overpowered. And honestly, it really works out in her favor. I think in the future, you know, Genshin is going to introduce a lot of cards, you know, that will be able to fuel the discard engine. So far, I think discard engine is mostly limited to Whale, Kaveh, Xinyan, and Apep. It could expand a little bit further because Yunjin also has it in her kit, but it's never to the extremist degree, right, where they need to start running engine blocks like Central Laboratory Ruins. You know, definitely very crucial for this. You know, if anything, like, you know, this is the card that I definitely search for early, you know, outside of course draw is always good, right? But you know, this really helps because I'm always going to be discarding to some extent, right? Now, here we go. We're going to start popping off a little bit with Xinyan, and there we go. I took a lot of damage. I'm going to critical HP, but I'm really not worried about it because, you know, this is where, you know, Xinyan was able to shield off a lot of damage earlier. Of course, she was, you know, open in HP in there, but, you know, if this was not a character that didn't have that shield and damage, she would already be kind of cooked, and I wouldn't have as much pressure as I would have preferred, right? So here we go. We're moving on through this segment right here. Nice. And now, you know, it's looking pretty dire for me, but once again, I have healing. You can see right there, I actually had 3 stacks of Apep, so I'm sure you know what that means once I start playing in the next summon, right? And this is one of the other things about Apep, and I might as well talk about it now, is that yes, you can play these cards as summons, right? And you have Oasis Nourishment to reduce them by 1 to make it so it's not as painful to do. And that's where I'm talking about, like, you could play Apep outside of a discard deck. It is just very difficult to do. Right, so just keep this in mind. You could play all 3, you know, all 4 of these, you know, go, you know, super Apep, and then, you know, totally cook your opponent. But it's going to be a little bit of a difficult time, to be honest, right? So while we're waiting for, you know, all these shenanigans to go down, I'm going to talk about Apep and Xinyan's talent cards, you know, because it's just sort of a stock standard that I do always for these videos, right? I want you guys to know what the talent cards do, so if you want to use them, you can go for it. Unfortunately, we're not using this match. There we go. Lyney Nuke. There we go. That's not the talent card, but he's going to be having a very hard time. But yes, so Apep's talent card, which we have right here, 1,000 Young. When you play it, you're going to create 4 Awaken My Kindreds, immediately randomly place them into your deck, and when Guardians of Apep Oasis, my goodness. What did I tell you, dude? There is a lot of stuff in this deck. But yes, once you have it equipped, basically all of these guys are going to do +1 damage, and that's very scary because remember, you can easily get 1, 2, 3, 4 on the field, you know, without even trying. Like, it's pretty easy to do. You know, especially when you have discard mechanics or like Kusava, that's a really big deal, right? To get your engine going. So that's definitely, you know, pretty strong. And I probably kind of recommend it to like every Apep deck because it also only costs 2 Dendro, you know, so that's going to be pretty easy for you to play, you know, play out. Anyways, again, moving through this, yeah, boom, 6 damage, just knocks Risley out. There's Quicken being super duper useful from Kuki. You know, again, why is she super useful? And unfortunately, Apep gets taken out, but I have the shot from Kuki, and the duck is over. GG's. Very fun deck again. I had to yap a lot during these matches because of how much is required to explain between these decks. But yes, moving on to the final match. I was actually intending probably not to commentate on this, but you know what? We're already here, so let's go ahead and finish the job with this last match again with the Whale, Xinyan, and Apep list. I intended to do more Kuki matches. matches, but I honestly just had a bit more fun like this with whale variant. But one of the things I wanted to mention, you know, and a great third option, right, is going to be this scorpion right over here, the Consecrated Scorpion, because how they work, and once again, man, it's like we reviewed basically 4 cards in this video. I'm gonna be real with you, but yes, the Consecrated Scorpion generates these Bone Cruncher blocks. Yes, these ones right here, right? So the Bone Cruncher block, and I'll go ahead and read it. Oh wait, well, I missed it from there. Oh well. Randomly, when you play it, it's an action card. You'll randomly discard 1 card from your hand, so it is random, right? Or the original select is highest, right? And then create 1 elemental dice of the same character's character, and also gain 1 energy, and that can be used also on Apep. So I actually did test Scorpion, you know, in the whale slot or the Kuki slot, right? And it works. It's a little finicky though, because the thing about Kuki is that she gives you that survivability, and the difference with Scorpion is that Scorpion has no survivability. You know, it's nice to have those Bone Cruncher blocks to instantly play, you know, your Apep for free, right? Because it's a 0 cost card. But the thing is that you only can play it once, and you know, it's not really the most consistent way to stay alive. You know, these characters really bounce off each other, and having that little extra healing and also access to quicken really helps out, you know, their whole situation, you know, when it comes to you know, what they do, right? So anyways, we're going to be moving on with the match, and while we get to this part, right, it's a good chance to talk about Lyney and the countdown to the show. And this is the highest stack version, right? So what this is that it starts out as 3 line dice, but I'm sure you saw in the earlier match is that it is a very interesting card in that it actually lowers its cost, you know, if you use the discard mechanic. So what it does, you know, by itself is that convert all your dice into Omni Element and draw 4 cards. After you discard this card from your hand or deck, place 1 countdown show that costs 1 less of the elemental dice into the top of your deck. Now that's super good because not only you're going to guarantee draw this, right, but the more you reduce it, you know, the more free stuff you get, because this card is totally playable on like 2 or 1 dice, but you can push this all the way down to a free thing and it's still going to have the same effect. All your dice are going to be converted to omnis and you're going to draw 4. That is super strong. Like, there's a reason why the card works like this. There you go. Kusava just ate both Lyney and also ate one of the Apep summons, so now I have both of those out, and once again, discard engine doing its magic, right? Lyney is now sitting at the top of my hand. Once my turn starts again, Kusava will eat it once more, assuming I spend all this, right? And that's really strong. It's very difficult to play the first grade magic, I will say. You know, you need to have the right deck list for it or having the right engine for it. You can play it with its 3 you know, cost variant, but you need to make sure you calculate out your ratios you know, perfectly when you do something like that, right? So, but yes, that's kind of the last piece to the discard engine of sorts, right? But yes, we're going to be moving on as we go through the match. You know, Apep is, you know, plowing through. I'm really glad she has 4 damage on her elemental burst, because that's really strong, you know, being able to toss that out and also, you know, do what your kit wants to do, because it's basically just your skill but more powerful, right? So that's really awesome. And now, yeah, here comes Xinyan swinging in, 10 HP still. You know, nobody's really down for the count. Scorpion's having a really rough time, and that's just how it be, you know. One thing I will say about Xinyan is that the Rift Revolution, you know, being able to discard your entire hand is super cool, especially for whale. But to be honest, I can understand, like, you know, people sometimes get a little scared of that. Even myself, you'll see it in this match. I really try hard not to use, you know, the this, but you have to just count it out and realize how long the game will go on, because especially when you're fighting something like Serpent, you know, who can, you'll see, I'm pretty sure I get nuked in this match. This one can deal over, can double the damage based on energy blocks in its hand, right? And, you know, both these guys generate, like, let's see, 6 times 8. They generate like 16 energy blocks. So they could just totally, you know, nuke you out of this guy. I even use Vicious Ancient Battle to take away their energy so they can't do something like that. But they still have 9 dice, and actually I think it's coming. There it is. Yeah, there goes for 1 hit. Goes ahead and draws an energy block. I might actually just get sent to the Shadow Realm right here, right now. Oh goodness, there it is. Throws the Anima Ball. Not enough. Only 3 cards, so it wouldn't get that high of a multiplier. Still pretty scary though. You know, that can be a lot of stuff to, you know, totally wipe out your entire team, right? But yes, we're gonna go ahead, and here I have Lyney once again, and now I use it for 1 dice, draw 4. That's how powerful this thing is, man. This is so strong, being able to draw, you know, so many cards out of your hand. I'm already down to 19, you know, at this turn. You know, super nice. There we go. There we go. And now I've you know, awakened my, you know, I've now reignited Heart of the Oasis, so now I can heal for 3 for 3 HP, and you know, just kind of keep rolling from here. But now I'm staring down probably one of the scariest parts of the match, which of course is going to be the whale itself, because you know, this person did discard a lot of stuff. So now whale has sitting at 13 HP, has a good friend over here going to be consistently pelting me with damage, you know, and also dealing a lot of damage themselves. So let's just see you know, kind of how this works out in the end game, right? It's gonna be a whale versus whale 1v1 unless my Apep can survive somehow. But yeah, it's certainly something. Oh yeah, and while we're waiting for this to get past, let's talk about Xinyan's talent card herself, Rockin' in a Flaming World. It is a normal attack based card, so you're gonna use your normal attack once immediately, and if you have no more than one card in your hand, you'll deal +2 damage. Very similar to Yunjin's talent card and her special mechanic with her buff, right? So that's pretty cool. You know, you can make Xinyan to even more of a DPS. You know, and if you're, you know, again, if you're a fan of Xinyan and you don't want to play with a map, go for it, man. I'm actually considering I might do a Xinyan Yunjin deck when we have the time for it. But yes, let's do it. So here, yeah, this is where I'm talking about where I'm a little too scared to sacrifice all my cards, because I feel like, oh, I need more draw, oh, I need more this, I need more that. You gotta remember that my whale is severely outclassed. I only have 3 stacks which convert into HP, and whale over here on the opponent's side is sitting at like 10. I kind of need the HP, you know, so you gotta calculate. You know, and this is the segment where you should start pre-playing your stuff, right? Throw the fast swap out, you know, maybe hold out, you know, I can probably hold on for one more round, but it's really not wise for me to hold out any longer, because now I'm really going to start taking the damage, you know, because Apep now is going to fall here, thanks to our little friend over here is going to summon down to the end phase. Drop another one of these for good measure, but unfortunately, Apep, it is your time to go down. Goodbye, back to the eternal slumber, and now it is just Xinyan and the whale trying to do a 1v1 with a big whale. Oh boy, look at that. We're having an interdimensional whale fight. You know, they clone themselves and they're trying to eat each other now. Hey, what do you do? That's how it works sometimes. Yes, we also have there's Forbidden Knowledge. You know, not a card I'll cover too quickly. It's like basically you do it over here, and if your opponent draws 4 cards cumulatively, it'll add Forbidden Knowledge to their hand, and the whole point of it is that it bricks your opponent's hand, because they cannot actually use Forbidden Knowledge to tune for dice. So, you know, like if I have a pyro dice over here, Will needs to tune. You can't actually do that, which is really cool. And what's cool about Forbidden Knowledge, very funny mechanic too, if you play it on yourself and there's a 1 limit, it'll actually deal 1 piercing damage to yourself, but you'll also draw a card. So it's like, you know, ooh, you know, you're gonna take these tricks for a trade, you know, take this, and then I can also have that. There we go. All the cards discarded, heals well up. But yeah, they're suffering with that right now. They have about 2 of them in their hands, so that's pretty fun. You know, I could probably actually check, but we're gonna leave it be. Let them do what they want. But here it is. Again, very difficult end game to trudge through. They use a discard right there, throw away Lyney. Super duper useful. Again, now they have, you know, all the draw power they could possibly need. Right, I got this one a little late. Oh yes, and there's also the festive fires again. I talked about it in my review video, but like it's just there, man. This thing does not this thing does literally nothing, to be honest. But yes, here we go for the final bout of the match. We're down to 6-6, but I was able to catch up because once again, Xinyan's Drift Revolution destroys everything in your hand. Super useful, and now I'm able to match off this opponent here. There we go. Last dice roll. We're getting into it. Kind of cringe. Oh well, I'll have to tune for it. That's fine. Go, and the game is over. GG's. There we go. Oh boy, this was probably the most I have had to talk in a video, and you know, I hope you guys don't mind it, but there was just a lot to explain, you know, and it really didn't feel right to make a Xinyan video or an Apep specific video, because they're very, you know, they're characters that really need to stick together, right? And you know, I wasn't even planning on commentating that last match, but yeah, what do you think about these 2 characters? I personally think Xinyan is going to get better over time. She really needs you know, other characters, you know, really other characters or other cards that work in the game for the discard mechanic. Otherwise, she's gonna have a really hard time without it. Apep herself, you know, having such great synergy with Xinyan is really those really cool examples of this. But what do you guys feel about that stuff? I feel like you know, in this entire patch is that I feel like a lot of characters you know, are sort of having a lot of synergies that are kind of locked to each other. You know, I talked about last time, right, in the last video with Risley, how Risley is kind of locked to treasure. Also, additionally, you know, obviously, who isn't working on a Furina deck, right? But Furina, you know, too, kind of feels tied to treasure. She's really hard to work without the on-demand healing. You know, additionally, like, you know, and then now there's these two, right? Xinyan and Apep, you know, who are having a bit of a difficult time, you know, moving outside of the niche. Again, it's not impossible. Be creative, do what you want with your deck building, but you know, you're gonna have a little bit of a struggle, you know, about not being able to take care of major mechanics. So how do you guys feel about this so far? But yeah, those are my thoughts on Xinyan and Apep. Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to leave a like, subscribe, as these take a lot of effort. And let's go ahead and drop in those deck lists. There you go. First one is by Minty, and then the other one I sort of just reverse engineered. One thing I will recommend, Whale, definitely add a little more 2-cost cards. You know, because Whale works off of the cost of the cards. So, you know, maybe Silver and Malus need to go. You know, decide the ratios, you know, based on how you see fit. But yes, that's all from me, and be sure to check out my other channels over here, as well as TCG. We have tournaments every week. We just finished our first weekly series, and we're gonna have another one, you know, this coming weekend. So, you know, get yourselves ready. But yeah, that's all from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next dish. Goodbye.